This one time when I was like 18-ish, I smoked weed with a bunch of people. Now, this wasn't an unusual occurrence. I typically have my normal smoking weed group, but this time, it was like one or two people from the usual group, and we decided to invite in some people that we typically have never smoked weed with. Because we thought it would be a fun experience. We're just smoking weed with each other all the time, kind of, getting bored of each other. Let's add some spice to this relationship, bring in some outside parties. So we started smoking with these other young adults. That's something that always bothers me when people call somebody that's like 18 a kid. Fucking used to happen all the time. But there really is there's a difference. There's a huge difference. You gotta call them young adults. They're not teenagers. They're not kids. They're young adults. And me and this group of young adults decided to come together and make a decision to smoke some marijuana. It was all fine and dandy until one of them started to freak the fuck out. He was going like, "Make it stop! Make it stop! Ah!" And me, having been the seasoned professional who has gone through my fucking make it stop phase, except mine was different. Mine greened me out. When I got greened out, I would pass out and I would be in this senseless place. Like, not like senseless, senseless, where it was like being the most sleepiest asleep that I've ever been. And it's like everything around me was black, and I couldn't hear anything, I couldn't smell anything, I couldn't taste anything, I couldn't touch anything. I was just conscious awareness in this like black environment. But I wouldn't be able to like control my body. That was the big problem. Is sometimes I would like pass out and then I'd be stuck. And then I'd be inside my brain and I'd be like, I'm stuck. And sometimes I would end up throwing up a whole bunch because I'd get so dizzy and I'd throw up. But what he was having was a psychic event, a mental event. Because this was his second time smoking marijuana. And typically, the second time you smoke marijuana is the like craziest high you'll get, because your body is aware of what the substance is and all the places that it fits, but it doesn't yet have a tolerance to it. So you get crazy fucking high. And I don't think he knew that, first off. And second off, marijuana has this like capability of somehow unlocking empathy, or like this kind of parasympathetic nervous system where you start suddenly picking up a lot more cues from your environment. And he was having like cue overload, and it sucks because I could see, not like literally a fucking physical manifestation, but like I could see situationally. I had the situational awareness to know exactly what the fuck was messing with him. But I didn't have enough personal belief in myself. Enough, like, there's like a R word that I can't think of right now. But it's kind of like gumption. Self-esteem. I didn't have enough gumption. I'm gonna go with that one. That one feels the best. To speak up and be like, commandant of the situation. Say like, yo, pull the car over. Let's go to we need to stop at that field right there. We don't need to go to a park. We need to stop at the closest peaceful place that there is. We all need to get out of the car. He needs to sit down on the ground by himself. And then we need to separate ourselves for just like a couple minutes by 5 or so feet. And we all need to quiet our minds. Because all of our minds are chattering away. And it's creating this energetic noise that he is now sensitive to. And I don't know how to fucking explain that. And I was trying to just do it within my own mind. Like, hold on, I can do this. Because I didn't realize that I wasn't the only one whose mind was also racing. I assumed that everybody else's mind in the car was empty. So I didn't think to tell them, hey guys, empty your mind. Stop thinking about everything. Which is like a empty your mind. It sounds fucking stupid and hippie-like, but like, nah, man. Just stop thinking, because you're creating energy, and that energy's traveling out. And I tried fucking... like, I remember in the moment, hearing something in my head, and responding to something in my head. And then he freaked out loud, and I was like, oh, fuck, okay. I was like, shit. Because he started freaking out in the psychic sphere. And I started hearing something like, oh my god, I can't handle it. And I was like, just take a deep breath and calm down. And then that's when he was like, I can't handle it. Out loud. I was like, chill out, we can do this. Yeah, wow. I totally forgot about that, like, internal conversation beforehand. Wow, because that guy killed himself afterwards. Oh, wow. And it was just like I was there again in the car for a moment. And I was just that person again. And he was just alive for a moment. And I was just like, yeah, let me go talk to him. But now I can't because he's dead. Because he killed himself. Because he couldn't handle the brain. I don't even know what was going on because I didn't really talk to him. We didn't really talk much. I thought it was weird that he was hanging out with me at all in the first place because he fucking cut me off at first. So I was like, you're just hanging out with me because I'm the weed smoking guy and you want to smoke weed. So. But, you know what's interesting is the realization that not I wasn't aware of everybody's thoughts in the car, just his, is indicative of something else. That maybe it's not psychic, maybe it's some kind of delusional thing. Or maybe we're only tuned into certain kinds of waves based upon our experiences and stuff. And he was giving off a particular kind of wave that I'm well adept at handling. So I perceived it and understood it. But to the others, this wave was very misunderstood. They were like, we don't know what the fuck to do. And I was like, well, we're in a moving box full of people. That's gonna make anybody smoking weed freak out. That was like one of my biggest gripes too. When I like greened out, my second time smoking weed, I wanted them to just stop and stay in one fucking spot. They were driving me around all fucking crazy like. I didn't have enough wherewithal to tell them, stop. I need to fucking stop for a minute and just sit here. Nobody's fucking chasing us. Nobody fucking gives a shit that there's some kids smoking weed. That's the thing about weed, though, is it makes you paranoid. Then everybody's like, we're being chased. We gotta get the fuck out of here. Meanwhile, it's like, nah, man, just sit here for a fucking minute. And I was greening out, and I didn't have enough energy, but I knew what I wanted. So they were started pulling away, and I fucking like mustered up all of my strength, and like thought I was slamming the car into park, being like, no, stop. But all I got to was reverse. Like I couldn't make it. I didn't have enough fucking energy to make it to park. I went, I pushed the fucking shifter because I didn't want to move. I didn't want to move from that spot. The fucking feeling to move was completely unnecessary, and I needed to figure out what was happening inside my head. And the more they moved me around, the more I couldn't figure it out. I was just about to get to figure it out, but that's because we were at a red light and then we started moving again. And I was like, no, fuck, stop. There's too much fucking momentum. There's too much fucking forces acting upon my body right now for my fucking brain to calculate, in addition to also calculating what the fuck THC is. I've always been mad about that. uh, Low key, because it's like that made the experience so much worse than what it could have been. Um, and that what was happening to him. We were tightly packed in a car with a bunch of fucking brains going off, a bunch of fucking sweaty pheromones firing out. He was getting overwhelmed because his brain was like, we need to figure this out. And I was like, dude, I know exactly what the fuck is going on. Listen to me. Because when your brain is like, I need to figure something out, and somebody says, I know exactly what the fuck is going on, that's going to help you feel comfortable with what the fuck is going on if you're uncomfortable with what the fuck is going on. But if you're so uncomfortable with what the fuck is going on that you think that you're the only one experiencing it, then you're going to dismiss any outside help. You're like, nah, this is novel, this is new, nobody else has experienced this before. That's what THC does to your brain, because you've never experienced it before. That's what anything new does to your brain. Chocolate, fucking a new type of food, anything new, you eat it, and your brain goes, oh, let me figure this out. The flavor, the fucking what's happening, use my senses to figure this out. And in particular with drugs, it messes with the neurochemistry. So neurochemistry is how your brain forms thoughts and figures things out. And if something's messing with the neurochemistry for the first time, it's going to be inherently difficult. And you're going to think it has never been experienced by anybody else in the entire world. Meanwhile, it's just weed. And lots of people have experienced it in the same exact way. It's just a novel thing to you. And it kind of closes your mind off a little bit, because you're like, nah, man, I'm the only one ever experiencing this kind of stuff ever. And it's like, nah, man, a lot of people experience these kinds of things all the time. But what that really kind of revealed to me is the pitfalls of believing the fucking chosen one dynamic. I'm the only one that could. Nah, man. A lot of people are the chosen one. That's why I like how the Lego movie did it. Like, it took the prophecy of being like the one, and it was like, you're all the special, you know? You're all the special thing that makes things special because of what's special inside of you. And that's way more unifying than feeling like you're an outsider and you're the only one. Even if you're the outsider and you're the only one for a positive reason, that's still very alienating. But recognizing that you might be special, but everybody else is special too, makes things a lot more playful and fun. And that was kind of the issue. Was the playful environment within that vehicle was kind of going away, and it was being replaced by like negativity. And negativity is one of those things where like it needs to find a ground, if that makes sense. So you ever realize that, like, in a group dynamic, it's never like, oh, that whole group is toxic and negative. Within the group dynamic of itself, the group doesn't think that it's toxic or negative. So then they start, like, either one person will take it up upon themselves to be the negativity of the group for the group to turn against. They'll be the scapegoat of the group. One person might do that. They might choose to do that. But typically, a group chooses the scapegoat because not everybody is willing to be like, I'm going to be the villain of this group. To unify them into feeling like they're good people, not that doesn't make logical sense. So the group usually chooses subconsciously who they're gonna fucking ostracize, and then they pick that person to rally against or around. That's how, like, free flowing negativity within a group will form. It will always find a ground, even if the person it's being put onto isn't a negative person, isn't a negative influence within the group. But if you're in an environment where everybody's kind of like in a positive state, but there's this, like, kind of negativity not within the group, but everywhere else outside of the group. Or maybe, like, I shouldn't even say negativity, I should be like more like a strong, energetic current within the air. We also produce, like, energetic fields and stuff. So if you feel the field coming in, somebody who's going through that kind of stuff, their thing is to be like, increase their field's potential in response to the field. And that's what was happening to him, was the lingering, like, energy in the vehicle, like the electrical energy imparted with the fucking kinetic energy from movement, all these different kinds of energy, not just like electrical system of the vehicle, electrical system of your body. Like, there's lots of different kinds of energy going on, chemical reaction energy, fucking. So to say, like, one particular kind of, like, energy was affecting the situation wouldn't be necessarily accurate to the situation. Wow, I gotta take a fat shit. Oh my god. Yeah, alright, let's pause it. Whew, talk about fucking negativity in the air. Oh, my tummy feels a lot better now. I was wrestling with that one from as soon as I pressed fucking record. I was like, great, now I have the shit. That's life, though. As soon as you start doing something, all these other things are gonna pop up in your way. And that's kind of like what was happening in the situation in the car. Dude needed to take, like, an energetic dump. All the energy was piling up inside of his brain. And he wanted it to stop. He was becoming an energetic receptacle of a group. And we didn't make it stop. We were just like, the driver was like, I guess I'm going to bring you home now, Paul. And I was like, dude, you need to fucking stop for a second and relax. But we were driving. We just drove him home. But even when he got home, like, he couldn't get out. And that's why I was like, that's exactly why home wasn't the ideal option. Going for a walk would have been the ideal option. Not even a walk, but like a sit somewhere. And we ended up sitting there for a little bit, and like one other person that wasn't a typical normal for the group, but was like closer friends with him, decided to like go and like watch him all night long. Like went into his house and like slept over and watched over him, which I thought was a little creepy. I was like, that's a little. You guys kind of have a weird relationship there. Yeah, a little fucking weird. And that's why this psychic shit is bad. That's why the brain fucking turns off most of the things for transmission of waves through your body. Your brain kind of ignores most of it for the average person because it's fucking difficult shit to deal with. It's difficult to fucking sort through and organize all of it. And quite frankly, the human condition wasn't designed to focus on those kinds of things. We're using the brain waves and stuff for one reason, and all that psychic stuff is like a accidentally included reason. I wouldn't say accidentally included, but it's like not the intended purpose of why we have brainwaves. There could be some argument against that. But I would also argue back that if the brain was truly supposed to be some kind of like sending and receiving thing, that it wouldn't be encased inside of a metal fucking skull. Skulls are made of calcium. Calcium is technically a type of metal. Metal is fucking insulating. All not insulating, but conductive of energy, and can insulate it since it's a fucking orb. It can insulate the brain from, you know, incoming waves. Probably ever so minutely, but enough that existence could happen. You know what I mean? But it also could be argued, like, how do lions in a savanna communicate with each other? They might be using some kind of nonverbal communication that might be consistent of brainwaves. We don't know. But it's really crazy because like your own emotional state, how you feel, can determine what cues you pick up. So if you feel extremely positive, you're going to pick up positive cues where there aren't positive cues, which may make for more positive situations, but may also make for like awkward situations because you're reading things that's way more positively than they are. Like this one time, I went to go tickle somebody that I was dating, and I went, yum, yum, yum. I was like on top of her and I was tickling her. I'm gonna eat you. And it sounded like she was laughing, but what was actually happening, and I was like, this is great, this is so fun, I love rolling around laughing. But then she snapped and went, stop! And I went, whoa. I put my hands up, I was like, what the fuck? And she started she like rolled around and she was like crying, and I was like, holy shit, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that I was freaking you out. And that was the end of that relationship. I think also when I got up and I was like, I know how to fix the situation, and put on Basket Case by Green Day, I think that was the nail in the coffin. Was it Basket Case? I gotta look it up now. Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything at once? It was that song. And I was like, I'm the whiner. But what I didn't realize is that she would perceive that she's the whiner. Not always. Psychic and shit. And even when you assume that you're psychic and shit, you fucking misinterpret shit all the time, dude. You can't fucking use it as your one and only, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. That's why we have other fucking senses. That's why if we only needed one sense, the body would have only evolved one sense. You feel me on that one? If we only needed to see things in order to exist, then we would only see things. But we need to eat things so we move around, and we have all these appendages so we can move shit and grab shit. We have mouths. We need to communicate that, hey, I'm hungry, so I can get some of that food. So we have voices. We got fucking brains, so we can think about it. Like, my tummy's kind of empty right now. I'm kind of hungry. You got fucking ears, so you can hear fucking the ice cream truck is rolling down the street. You got noses, so you can follow the smell of some delicious food. It's not always food. You know what I'm saying? We have all these kinds of senses going on. And they're all checks and balances for each other. When something is confirmed by a multitude of senses, that's when something exists in your reality. For schizophrenic people or people that suffer from hallucinations and delusions, a reality check is something that they have to implement into their lives. Yeah, Basket Case by Green Day, I just Googled it. A reality check consists of something like, I just saw something out of the corner of my eye. So then you need to do your reality check to confirm whether or not that something that you saw in the corner of your eye was real. Some people, it's so bad that they have to take their phones out and record it. And they go, that thing over there, is that real? And they go and they watch it because the phone won't record a hallucination. They might be so deep in their hallucination that when they go to watch it, they see it within there. I don't think that there's ever been a report of that happening. And it's mostly so you can go and you show it to another person. And the other person goes, yes or no. But you really want to perform this as a self-assessment. You don't want to be reliant on having a caregiver confirming or denying all the time. My big thing is sound. I think I hear something, so then I investigate. And that might be just as simple as looking in the direction from which I have heard the sound. Oh, that's where the sound came from. Sound is also created by, like, objects moving. I felt that in my foot, because my foot is on the same desk that I dropped that on. So if you hear a sound, me, personally, I start to pay attention to the seismic sense. I don't know what the fuck it's called, but the sense of feeling vibration through your environment. So if, like, my hand's here, and I knock there, I can feel the vibration in my hand over here. I can also feel how I'm putting vibrations into the wall. I don't know what that fucking sense is called, but I use that as a reality check. So if I hear like a loud bang and I don't feel any kind of seismic wave vibration, man, it probably wasn't fucking real noise. Sometimes I have like noise flashbacks. And I have one theory that a really loud noise would be shaped like a squiggle. And when that squiggle enters your ear, it needs to deform these tiny hairs on the inside of your ear in order for your brain to encode it as electrical signals to then decode it as sound. If a particular squiggle comes in and it deforms a hair in your ear in the exact shape of the particular squiggle, and the hair gets stuck because there's lots of like wax and maybe like a lot of pressure pushed it down, maybe as there's more sound entering the ear canal, that sound wave can essentially get trapped, like how that guy, I forget who it was, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, so one of them two guys, they created the first recording device, which was a cylinder of wax that a little needle scribed into, and as you like talked into this apparatus, the needle would vibrate, and it would encode those vibrations in the wax cylinder. And then those vibrations on the wax cylinder could be played back on a different machine, and you could actually hear what was said into the wax. We have wax in our ears. If that's a concept, if there's fucking people on American Pickers looking for those little tubes because they still exist and they're still holding sound to this day, but they're just so fragile because they're made of wax. It's definitely possible then that your ear, with all of its wax and all of its little hairs that are basically plastic in ability, plastic as in not like fucking plastic as in the scientific definition of the word, something that can be deformed and stuff like that and shaped, and hairs can be deformed and shaped, especially if you add wax to it. If I put some wax in my hair, I could get it to stand up like that. So that's a plastic kind of thing. When that hair then releases from its hold and returns back to its normal state, as it's deforming or reforming back into the shape of a hair and it's released from the wax, you may hear an echo of that sound. That's what I think personally. And it's not really necessarily an echo. It's like a really faint, far off, almost in your head kind of sound. Like if you hear like a, and then you'll hear that like, might be like hours and hours later, but it'll be like, you can't even really hear that. That's how like quiet it is. Can you even? I can hear it when I go like that. And that's how quiet it will be within my own ear. That's why I'm like, And sometimes it's stuff that like people have said to me, and then it'll happen later on, like in the night when I'm relaxing. Maybe after I just took a shower, all the wax is a little bit loose. That's when I'll start to hear those things. And like ting, 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 the ears are fucking, the ear hairs are popping back. That's one theory of what it may be. It may also be like the brain misfiring a memory. So like I said, something that somebody said to me throughout the day, my brain misfires the memory backwards. So I'm thinking that I'm hearing it again, but I'm not actually hearing it. I'm just thinking that I'm hearing it. I'm thinking so deeply about hearing it that I almost heard it. And it's like myself reminding myself, hey, you heard this thing throughout the day. But it's reminding myself in such a way that it's almost like, you can definitely feel when some sounds are inside, some are coming from the ears. There's just a different feeling to them. But like I said, though, you got a reality check, and that's what all of that really came from. When I hear those sounds, sometimes first reality check is, well, I'm in a room by myself. There's no one that could have said that. You got to use a logical reality check. But sometimes people suffering from mental health conditions don't have those logical circuits in their brain. Those circuits are not accessible to them because of the neurochemical environment of their brain. For example, if you use nicotine and then you go about trying to quit nicotine. Nicotine is a dopamine antagonist. It stimulates it. But lots of other things stimulate the release of dopamine, like eating food and stuff like that. So if you go, I'm quitting this, brain doesn't really realize that it's the vape that you're quitting. It thinks you're quitting dopamine. So then you kind of have this logical fallacy that dopamine is bad, but dopamine in and of itself is good. It's the abuse of dopamine through nicotine which is bad. You have kind of low dopamine, it doesn't necessarily feel bad because it's leveling you out. It might actually even feel good to that's what it does. It makes you feel kind of good about it. You're kind of tingly, a little bit energetic, but if you're like experiencing it from the state of a deficit, it feels a lot more normalizing, if that makes sense. Deficit means that you know what a normal level of dopamine is. But if you keep jacking up your normal level with the nicotine, it's always going to keep going higher and higher and higher. And then you'll never be able to reach that once standard normal level with the same methods that you used to reach it, like exercise and eating right. You have to go through like a kind of shit period when you do things like this. Where your brain has to restructure around the release of dopamine. You got to find new things to release dopamine, but nothing will really kind of release dopamine as on demand and as in much supply as these things will, especially because the percentages are so high nowadays. Like 5%, fuck your brain up. With 1 or 2 puffs, you're addicted because you're kind of like, you get a more euphoric rush from vapes than you ever would have gotten with cigarettes. To the point where, like, if you look up nicotine poisoning, some of the symptoms are like feeling numbness, dizziness, ataxia, fucking dry mouth. And those were the things that, like, we looked forward to when using nicotine. Isn't that kind of messed up? That we were looking forward to, like, that was what we call the nicotine rush. And it was literally the poisonous effects of nicotine. I remember one time, like, this kid hit his fix in class, and then he like got silent, and he got pale white, and he almost fucking threw up. And he put his head down, and he just stopped moving for like 10 minutes. That's not fucking cool, dude. That shit's actually like kind of scary now that I'm looking back at it, and I'm like, fuck, I can't put this damn thing down. So there's logical fallacies that can exist within your mind. So to fucking take anything at 100% without questioning it, it's kind of ignorant. without doing your due diligence to confirm its validity. That's kind of what happened there with the weed smoking guy. He thought weed was just like this nothing thing that you could just like smoke and like you're just kind of like hanging out with people and you're having a fun time. Because the first time he smoked, he didn't really get that high, and that happens to everybody the first time you smoke. You don't really get that super duper high that everybody always is ranting and raving about with marijuana. You're like, I don't get it. It's just like a cigarette. Maybe you've vaped nicotine before and you're like, oh, it's just like nicotine. I don't understand why people are smoking this stuff. You know, sometimes some people smoke like tea leaves. Maybe you're like, you smoked an herbal cigarette and then you smoked weed for the first time and you're like, they're exactly the same. Because it will feel that way the first time you smoke. And he didn't do his due diligence, and the realization is that it's a fucking fucks with your neurochemistry. It's a hallucinogen. It's a fucking psychotropic drug. Psychotropic. Fucks with your brain chemistry. And this was his second time smoking weed. He didn't really look into, like, what does it do to the brain chemistry? What is its purpose? What is this and that? He was just kind of like, fuck it, let me just smoke some weed. And we all kind of do that. But me, I didn't do my due diligence either to be like, hey, this happens sometimes. As the person who's the experienced weed smoker in the group, I didn't do my due diligence either. And I feel guilty about that to this day. Because it's like, I wasn't the only seasoned weed smoker in the car, too, by chance. Everybody else was listening to the other fucking guy. A guy who I've never seen green out once in his life. They weren't listening to the guy that fucking greened out so many times that they're all like, why are you still smoking weed? They never asked that question because they knew it was a revenue source. They didn't want to question it. They're like, he likes it. He likes passing out and throwing up all over himself. What I was trying to do was see my way through it, which eventually I did. And that's why now I can smoke and I can go and do shit because I have a tolerance to it now. I knew that would happen. Eventually I would gain a tolerance. And I knew that I was smoking because I liked what it did to the neurochemistry. It kind of regulated it, if that makes sense. But it also dysregulated it at the same time. For those periods that it was regulating it for the duration of it being the high, it was dysregulating it for every time that I didn't have marijuana. So I would feel regulated for like 6 hours. But then I'd go to bed, I'd wake up, and my brain is kind of like, oh, we're out of chemicals. Or like, I don't want to use the chemicals. So then it gets dysregulated, and maybe it's not using many chemicals, or maybe it's using a different kind of chemical and more of them. So then I go back to the marijuana because I'm training my brain to say, no, these chemicals, not cortisol. We want fucking serotonin or whatever. I kind of knew that I was trying to rewire my brain because of the environment that I grew up in. I knew rewiring was necessary. But I don't think that that guy, when he was freaking out, knew that's what it would do. But I knew that's what it was doing, so I wanted to be like, stop, we gotta give him a peaceful environment to rewire his brain. And didn't work out that way. So I don't really smoke weed that with people that have never smoked weed before anymore. It takes like one fucking bad experience to be like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this with people anymore. Because it's fucking wow. I mean, now I don't even want to say that. Knock on wood, because I don't want to fucking smoke weed with somebody and then they go and they freak out. I don't even really like smoking weed with people, dude. Like this dispensary opened up a smoking lounge and I was super excited about it before it opened, but I don't go in there. I don't smoke in there. I did it like once, felt a little weird. Tried to do it a second time. There was nobody in there, so I was like, fuck it, I'm leaving. I'm not gonna be that guy that's just chilling in here smoking. I don't even know like what they really offer. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird. I get what they offer. I can't say that. I don't really. I can use, if I buy wax, I can use their bongs there. It's like, okay, but I have my own. You know. I don't know. Maybe they need to get a video game console up in there. That might make it more like, they have like an arcade machine, but you gotta fucking stand up to do that shit. Like, nah, homie. Put in like a TV where I could sit down. They had couches. Just put up a couple of big TVs, play some fucking tourneys there. I don't know. But yeah, I don't even know why I started talking about this. That poop kind of broke up the chain of thinking. And now we're at like, I've almost been talking for an hour, so I'm going to call it quits pretty soon. I don't remember like what was the inciting, yeah, I want to go talk about that fucking thing. It's like, yeah, our brains are probably psychic, but our brains probably ignore it because being psychic is really overwhelming in such a world with so many people and so many different ways of thinking. Like, you can wire the brain to get to the same conclusion in many different ways. Fucking cat hair, dude. Oh my god. Always getting cat hairs in my mouth. You know, like maybe somebody uses this part of their brain to remember and realize that 2 plus 2 equals 4, but then like another person uses that part of their brain to realize that 2 plus 2 equals 4, but they're both realizing the same thing. They're just using different parts of their brain to realize it. That could kind of lead to a little bit of ambiguity. Because we aren't always privy to how people are like setting up their brain environments. So they could have set something up in a part of their brain that we don't normally go to. Like we as the audience. I mean that, like you and me, the watcher, and me now. We don't normally go to this part of our brain for that purpose. We might go to that part of our brain when we're mad. They go to that part of their brain when they're happy. We go to interact with that person, us being the audience, or me personally. I go to interact with that person. My anger circuit is lighting up because they're sending out signals from that part of the brain that I recognize as an anger circuit, but they're happy. Their neurochemical symbiosis wired it up in a way that releasing that chemical at this time, at this velocity, and that fucking spin makes them feel happy. But for me, if I release, that chemical in that part of the brain, I get mad. So then I perceive it as this person's an angry person. But the reality is this person's just a happy person. So the perception can be skewed based upon the internal environment and the perspective of the viewer and of the viewed. But yeah, this fucking entire dude's life keeps serving as a reminder to me to do more, to be more participatory, to be more active. Because if I was more active in his life, I could have maybe understood things better, a little bit deeper too. So we both could have had a mutual kind of development of understanding that could have led to the betterment of both of our lives. But he really serves as like a stark reminder that if I'm feeling like an inclination or like a feeling to go do something, that I should probably do it. You always say I'll do it tomorrow, but we don't know how many tomorrows that we always have. And this same guy, when he died, I thought about him in the exact moment that he died, and I was like, I should hit him up. But then I was like, nah, man, he stopped talking to me. He was the person that didn't want to be friends with me. I'm not gonna hit him up. He has to hit me up because he made that choice that he didn't want to be friends with me. Like, fuck that. I'm not gonna do that. And the next day, I found out he died, and I realized that I was thinking about him in the exact time around which he died. So it's just fucking, I can't ignore it anymore. That there is something that we transmit between one another, and it can fuck with your head. I think that's really just all I want to say. I'm in the process of trying to unfuck my head, so I guess that's all I really got for today, guys. As always, keep it easy out there. Peace.